What's good everybody, this is John MD Mills and you are back to What John Read. I'm a bit late this month, I apologise, but we're going to look at what I've been doing in the month of April. So just to kick it all off, the reason I'm a bit delayed with this is because I've been training quite a bit for the 10,000 meter run, which I'm going to be doing at the end of this month. So I haven't actually had time to be able to do this. I'm really tired, been doing a lot of exercise, a lot more than I'm used to, and their miles are adding up, but we're nearly there. Please donate if you can. We've nearly hit target the last I checked, so yeah, any kind of contribution, it is for Orchid Male Cancer, would be very much appreciated. So that's the reason there's a delay. I apologize for that, but let's get straight into it anyway. Alright, cool. Alright, so last month I read quite a lot of fiction, if I'm totally honest. I write a short story every Wednesday and release it on my website, and so I've been reading a lot of fiction in the last month or so, just to give me a lot of inspiration and a bit of different ideas on how to approach things. So last month was a lot of fiction. So let's kick it off with This Is How You Lose Her by Junot Diaz. I think that's how you say his name, I could be wrong. The writing style is brilliant. First person narrative, which I'm always a big fan of, mixed then within the usual third person, big fan of that as usual. And I just enjoyed the fact that the majority of the characters always seem to be similar. All the men have alcohol problems or are just, you know, out and out cheaters. The women are, you know, they're either very loyal or they themselves are promiscuous, so to speak, and it's just, and then throwing in the entire concept, which is so abstract, that is love, into the mix of all that. You know, it was enjoyable, very enjoyable. It was the first time I've actually read anything of him, and I've been told that another one of his books is the main thing to read with him, but I've kind of took, you know, the wrong route in that respect, but I will get round to it. But I would recommend, if you haven't read it, read This Is How You Lose Her. It is an interesting look at love, I guess, in the late 20th, early 21st century, so it's kind of summing up the times in that respect. Right. Second, oh lord, The Handmaid's Tale, yeah, by Margaret Atwood. Oldie, but goodie. So yeah, I generally enjoyed this book. I enjoyed the angle it took. It's one of them ones where, as it's a dystopic novel, the concept a lot of the time in this genre, that I've found anyway, the concept is better than the execution. But this one, it finds the balance right. You know, that women are oppressed in this Old Testament fundamental society, which just happens to be North America. And men dominate in a way, and women are practically used just to bear children, and just mixing in with all that of how they actually are living, and it's written in a first person narrative, which again I'm a big fan of, always have been. So I appreciate getting into that psychological view of how this one character views the world, and when it all wraps up, I really did enjoy reading the postscript afterwards, because one of the things I always have in mind, if these, spoiler for those who have read the book, it's based basically like later in the future at an academic conference and they're talking about the past. One thing that always keeps me sober minded and keeps life in context is that in 100, 150 years from now, the times that we are living in, someone out there in the future is probably going to be an expert with a PhD teaching about the times that we live in. We are all just people of our time periods, and we just have to be able to accept that and learn from that and embrace that. That's just something that keeps me sober-minded. And reading The Handmaid's Tale's postscript, the thing that comes right at the end, that just made me laugh. Quite an interesting way to end the book for me, but I still did enjoy it. So yeah, read The Handmaid's Tale if you can, or if you have already, read it again. It's always good. And finally, ooh, what are we thinking? Hemingway. Yeah, Hemingway gets a lot of flack now because of how he's like, but I really admire the man. He just, everything that is right and wrong with masculinity, he seems to embody. He was like an embodiment of it, and it was just, yeah, his earlier writings that I've read, this time round it was The Sun Also Rises, which was his first work. Again, it's the same Hemingway style that you grow to appreciate in other books like For Whom the Bell Tolls and A Farewell to Arms. and it's just so, people will say it's shallow because he just leaves it as it is. This is what the person says. There's hardly any character development. But a lot of the time, that is what real life is like. You judge people just from the simple statements that they make, and his obsession with truth, which drove so much of his work and his writing, I don't know, there's a beauty that I actually do see in it, and I keep saying that word a lot, and I don't really care, because this is how I live, you know. But there is a quality that is deep, and it is touching, and at the same time it's shallow, but it's real, and it's all about being real, and you can read into all these characters what you like, and yet you still appreciate it. And again, like, revisiting Hemingway, it was a book I just picked up at a charity shop. It was just The Sun Also Rises. It was selling for £1, so I thought, you know what, I haven't actually read it, why not, let me just read it. And again, just the travelling around in Europe with his buddies, the characters that fall in love, the basic bare bone minimum when it comes to explaining what each person is like. It leaves you to decide the more they speak and the more they interact with each other. The amount of drinking that just happens in the books, the fact that they just magically always seem to have money and they're able to just go everywhere they want and just do whatever they like, and they're always weighing up things and then just leaving it. It's just, yeah, I just enjoy him. I really do enjoy Hemingway. He was ahead of his time, he was a genius, and he died in such tragic circumstances, but it's weird because in his mind it was probably the most masculine way to do it. He was in control, as sad as that may sound, and I'm getting all this just from reading his works and just the little that I've heard about him. But he's someone I really do admire, honestly, for all his faults and whatnot, but it is what it is. So yeah, Sun Also Rises. If you haven't read any of his other works, probably best to start with his first one and then go from there. So yeah, that's that. I think that's it, to be fair, for this month. So yeah, well, I kind of got caught up in Hemingway then. So yeah, what John read, that was April. I'm reading a lot in May. Please support me for this run if you can. And yeah, check out my short stories every Wednesday on my website. I'll put the link in the description below. Thanks guys. Peace.